some of the main characteristics of the soul. Let's start with the soul. Some of the main characteristics would be love, compassion, empathy, those motherly qualities. Characteristics of the ego, though, would be things like the nature of ego itself, grappling onto people and acquiring items. The ego is all about acquiring, whether it be acquiring onto a person and saying you're mine now and I attach to you, or whether it be acquiring to, like, say, objects, which is the common thing we know as materialism. But what I really want to get into is like the main difference between the ego and the soul. Like, what are the deeper characteristics? What are the deeper characteristics of each separate thing, and how to, like, though everything is one, how can you separate them so you can better understand them and then bring them into a holistic approach. So one of the key components within this game to understand is the concept of, and this is something that people ask me a lot as well, so what about self-love versus ego? So in other words, what about real self-love, loving yourself and valuing who you are as a human, as a soul, versus having fake confidence, as we often like see in like teenagers, and you know, when people are in the beginning of their 20s, the fake sort of, you know, slick confidence. What's the difference between those things? Because that's where it gets interesting. So real self-love is coming from the true self, from the soul. This is the kind of love where you actually love yourself. The false confidence you will see manifest in ways like narcissism. So in the scenario of narcissism, people do not truly love themselves. Narcissism is actually self-hatred manifesting as looking in the mirror and saying, you know, oh, I look so good today, I'm perfect, and putting these expectations to yourself. So that's the main difference, is that the ego is a form of narcissism. It's the root of all narcissism. So when you see the difference between, and really want to go into between the difference between real self-love and fake confidence, you will see that the narcissism, the egoic kind of thing is actually the ego's way of hating itself. And suicide, physical suicide, is known within transcendent forms of psychology, professionally actually, and scholarly. It's known to be, I don't know if that's a word, but it's known to be an attempt by the superego, or one of the forms of the ego, to try to get rid of itself. It's like a self-destructive mechanism to end the suffering, because you feel the suffering and you feel, I want to just end it. People just want to end the suffering, and the way that people just, at the end, people cannot, when you do not give people the tools to be able to somehow cope with it, and when all you have is these like superficial forms of, you know, pills that they give you, or stupid psychological tools that don't work, people just want to end it and get rid of it, and the ego doesn't, you don't know how to really do the work. So that's the way people just, it ends up at this point where people, the only way to get rid of the ego is to just get rid of yourself, and that's a pretty bad place to be in, right, from our perspective. But when you understand from a psychological point of view, and also you understand that nobody's given the tools today, like no one is being taught meditation in schools, you know, so how are you gonna and progress towards the state where you have the tools available to just be able to not try to get rid of the ego, but see that it actually doesn't exist. The ego doesn't exist. The ego doesn't exist, which is why you cannot get rid of it. Trying to get rid of the ego is like a dog chasing its own tail, because except the tail isn't there. That's pretty much how it is. Like, the ego doesn't really exist. It's an illusion. That's why they say, when I say they, I mean the greatest people alive, the ego is always out to get something. The soul isn't out to get anything. The soul is just loving because of love. Because of, I love you, I want to love you for just existing. The ego is different, because the ego obviously always is in a state of clinging to things, and it wants to just, it wants to just acquire. And from the ego's point of view, you're just a sack of meat, you're just another material item. But from the soul's point of view, you are a soul. So that's where they really differentiate, is in that sense. But I find it so interesting. Because that most people do operate from a sense of security within this, trying to get this kind of confidence that they see as confidence, and embodying this kind of presence of, just being smooth, and they see that as a real confidence. And I truly can promise you that that's not what real confidence is, because you can find, I'm sure you've known these people, I certainly have, and it doesn't take like long to peel back the layers of this human being, and having, whether it be a best friend or a romantic relationship, whoever this person, whatever role they have in your life, it doesn't take many years of like being in tough situations together, or even small things like missing the bus, or it doesn't take many situations to peel back the layers of this person to realize the true colors, and to see, to see these issues. And it's certainly been easy for me to see, and I'm sure for you as well. Like, you just peel back the layers and you see that this isn't real confidence. Right? Confidence is not about how much you can, impress others, or embody this fake sense. Okay, so the camera cut off for a second there. So I'm gonna see if I can just make it work now. So it kind of leads me on to another thing that is very important in that discussion of self-love and ego. One of the things that came to me a couple of years ago, while meditating actually, was the difference between, I think that's a more subtle difference, but the difference between desire, like desiring something, and the soul wanting something, like the equivalent of dreaming, of wanting something so bad. So what the difference came to me about those two, let's just take a moment to appreciate this view. I got a little bit distracted there. So what the difference that I saw is, think of it like the soul, when the deepest part of you has a pure want a pure soul thing that you want, that is like that is like you just want something, and it is pure, and it is something that is just it's different. Many people think that having desire in the like traditional Buddhist and Hindu view of, oh, desire is bad, etc. Many people think that having any kind of desire is bad, but I think that distinction is so crucial, because there clearly is a big difference between your ego wanting something and your spirit wanting something. Because one thing is desire, as in wanting to acquire material objects. The other thing is just different. If you feel into it, it's different. It has a different flavor. The way the ego wants things is like a burning sensation of, if I don't get this, my whole life is gone. It's desire is a feeling of need. This is where the key difference is desire is needing, and the root of that needing is because you feel that you are not whole. And this is the problem with the ego. The ego does not feel whole, and because of this it needs material things to acquire to feel whole, whereas the soul already knows it's part of God and part of everything around it, so it doesn't need anything. You see, it doesn't need anything. This is the key thing. The soul doesn't need anything. It would like to do it, and it wants to, but to even say want is to go too far, because the soul doesn't want anything, because it doesn't need it. It just loves, and because it loves, it would sort of like to experience it, if that's what the whole cosmic order is going to deliver. In other words, it's just attuned with its cosmic counterpart, which it is whole with, and it just flows with that, accepts it, it goes with it. It's, you see, it's hard to find a word for what love, or the what the soul doesn't even want. It's like the soul just is, and it doesn't want anything, but it has the dreams, it has the what you love to do, right? Think of what you love to do. You just love to do it, and you don't need to do it in a sense of you are not whole. You are already whole, but doing that thing that you love is amplifying. It's an addition. It's adding on top, the cherry on top. It's adding a flavor. It's adding. You feel like you've already done it before in a million lifetimes, and you feel like dreams are almost superficial, because you don't have to have a purpose in life, right? Because everything is just flowing in a beautiful state of not chaos, but complete, just the flow of nature, the order of how things move. You see, just the clouds are moving, but they don't have a purpose or a need or a desire to move. They just move because they love to move, because the consciousness of the divine is flowing through them and just guiding every footstep that they take. Which is why when I walk here, you don't even think about walking, right? When you walk, you don't think about taking the next step. When you breathe, you don't think about breathing. It's just something that happens spontaneously. And when you talk, you don't even think, because the way your muscles move and the way your whole body is structured, everything moves so fast and automatic. Everything is automated because God is doing it. You can't possibly think about all those things, and you most certainly cannot grow a flower or control the way a branch of a tree grows or how the rocks move, and you can't control the wind. But even your own body, you feel like this is you, right? You feel like you have control over it. But the beautiful fact is that you don't have any control over what's going on inside your body or your brain, the way your eyebrows move, the way your eyelashes are growing, the way your beard is growing, whatever part of your body, it's doing it by itself, right? Everything is happening by itself, of itself. And there's no way that we can control it, because your body isn't really you. It's just the universe moving. And to say the universe is to say too much as well. But so this is the beautiful part where it all comes together. So I hope you watch this till the end, because this is where you can really bring the things together, and it's beautiful. So the ego desires and wants and needs to fill up the lack that it's feeling, because it knows that it's illusory, doesn't exist, and needs things to fill it up because it's actually empty. But the soul is real, full, and connected in its oneness, and knows that it's one with everything. So it doesn't need objects to fill it up. It doesn't need to acquire everything. It's already full. This means, like I said before, that the soul is completely full in itself. The soul just loves, and it is in that fullness of loving and being completely full, and it doesn't need or desire anything. It's just present, and it simply loves doing and sees doing as a necessity of God, and it just fulfills the purpose, but it doesn't need the purpose. The purpose is an addition to its just pure existence. So our dreams is like a contract that we made, that we say, I have several divine purposes here, but it's not something that I didn't come here just to fulfill a purpose. My ground of being, its original ground of being, is non-purposeful inherently, but it is inherently purposeful because there's so much purpose in just being. If you think about how crazy it is to be here, and the chance of you being here, how small that is, and how magnificent that is, and how magnificent it is to not be, to just be part of the cosmic engine and be part of the oneness and the totality of the other higher dimensions, to be a being in those dimensions, and how much you actually look forward to that, which is why being scared of death is so crazy to me, because once you've seen those other realms, whether it be through plants or through meditation, once you've seen those realms, it's something that, I mean, achieving states of samadhi through meditation is so amazing, and something that you would always want to do. And whether it be through that or it be, you know, that's just like an invitation, like a taste of how it's going to be. And when your physical body stops working and you go back to that place, that seems like an amazing deal to me. And it's not something, you know, when you reach that final mountain of life, metaphorically, and you reach that place, you're an old man, you're ready to go, that's beautiful. You know, you go back to that place. That's something to look forward to. And that's pretty much self-love, the ego, true love, need and desire. And I think that this is actually the key to getting free of desire, because the key to getting rid of desire is not pushing away your desires to have sex, to eat, to drink, to everything, because most of the time we in some sense physically need to eat, need to drink, need to have sex. So pushing away those desires by force is pretty unnatural, and usually will result, this goes for smoking as well, for many things, pushing that away will usually result in either more suffering or more suffering plus relapsing even further, because it just doesn't work pushing that way. But what does work is this method, I think, because once you understand, rather than pushing, once you understand psychologically and spiritually, emotionally, what the difference is between understanding what the desire is and the difference between also what that and then what real love is, then you can understand what your soul really wants. And this is one of the first important steps, is understanding what your soul wants in life instead of what you think you want, because what you think you want is always dictated by the ego's false desires, and they aren't authentic to what your true soul really wants. And this is why working towards, once you find that, you can start working towards what your real dream is. But the global identity crisis of what I just call fake identity, simply living in a fake identity, is why people are working jobs they don't like, because some aspect of them thinks that they actually like this, and this aspect is not their true self. But to hear that calling, you need to tune down the vibration of the ego, turn down that volume so you can listen to this song of your own spirit. Thank you guys. I'm gonna enjoy the jungle here and the mountains. I'll see you guys soon. Much love and peace. Namaste.